Hello everyone, this is Trey again from 3D Print and Paint, and today I'm going to do the next part of my beginning to end tutorial slash how I go from nothing to printing and painting a figure and putting it on my shelf. This section is mainly going to focus on my next two prints, how I set them up in Chitubox and how I hollow them and where I put the holes and the reason why I put the holes where I put them, the orientation, how I arrange them on the build plate, and how I slice them and save them to the thumb drive to be able to move to the printer. As you can see here, I've already picked the three pieces I'm going to put on this next print. I've orientated them. I usually try to orientate prints putting pointy things up, because pointy things sideways or pointy things down, sometimes I don't like to have supports attached to thin pointy pieces just because they break and it's hard. Sometimes because the supports kind of stick into the print a couple millimeters. You can set that in here. I think I have mine set to 1.2 or 1.5 or something, because I do like it to stick in there a little ways, because you do want to make sure that your supports are inside. They're like little needles or swords that stab into the print to make sure that it holds it, because you have to have supports holding the prints, which I'm assuming everybody knows that if you're doing 3D printing. If not, I could do a video on that too, about how I see how supports work. But that's how I see them. They're like little needles that stick into the print and they hold it. And because they do that, if you have a really thin piece or like a pointy sword end and you stick it into it, sometimes it doesn't go all the way in, or when you get this, if you don't clip it just right, if like a lot of times I try not to, but I just break the supports as I'm getting them off the build plate, and it'll break the print sometimes, and it's just a pain. So I try to always that's why I always try to put the pointy pieces facing up. Even though with that, I really wanted to with this skirt, I flipped it around and tried a couple different ways, but all those little points would be so much nicer if they were up. But most of that skirt, I don't want a bunch of support sticking into it, because that's the whole that skirt's too nice of a thing. So I'm just going to be really careful when I get it off the build plate, when I clip those. And if I break some of them, it's not that big of a deal if I break them. I'm sure it won't be noticeable unless I break the whole thing in half. That skirt is a very thin skirt too. The other thing you could see earlier, I don't know if you saw, I only hollowed out the lower body part, because that skirt and the tail are just so thin that sometimes it makes it awkward and messes up if you actually try to hollow out something that is barely wide enough to even need to be hollowed. So there'll be a little sliver of opening in the middle, and it can mess the whole print up. But I did auto supports. You can see how quickly I did those auto supports. And now that I moved on to the second print, so that first one's already done, and I saved it, and I got it ready to move to a thumb drive, and then I delete that. I usually save the project just in case I need to go back. If the prints fail really bad, then I will sometimes go back and have to re-alter the project and stuff, but that rarely happens. Most of the time, if you orient things right, and see these arms right here, I'm doing them very up and down, very vertical, so very few supports even hold them, so I let the arm support itself almost the whole way. That sword is so thin too, I definitely don't need to hollow it. It's so thin, so I'm only hollowing the boots and the arms. The main reasons I like to put holes in, at least two holes in the top and the bottom, are I like to use my air compressor to blow air into them, because there will be resin on the inside of the prints. You definitely don't want, say if you ever seal it up by filling the holes in, and then there's resin still inside there, and then you leave it in a hot, outside in the heat, or in a hot room or something, because I've done this before. I'll have to show you some of my prints that blew up. But if the resin's inside there and it's a hollow print, and then it gets hot and cold, or the temperature changes, your print will blow up from the inside. Just I couldn't believe how bad they crack and just explode. It's pretty crazy. But that's why I always put at least two holes in, so I can blow. I try to squirt. I either have a tub full of alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, either 70 or 90%, and I'll put the print inside it, and I'll either let it fill up with alcohol, so then I can shake it a little bit if I can get anything in there, and then I'll blow the air compressor through it to blow everything in there out, to get as much of the resin on the inside of the prints out as you can. You really don't want to seal a print up with resin, like liquid resin inside it, because if you put it, some prints I put outside, I'll show you in my next series, some prints I put outside to cure out in the sun. Sometimes I have a little water tub. Sometimes I put them in the water tub outside to cure, because that's actually the best way to do it. If you've ever, I live in Florida, so if you have a really sunny place and you can set them outside in a tub of water where they'll get sunlight and something about the molecules in the H2O, you can, if you look it up, you'll see that it does work really well for curing the prints. I also have a homemade UV curing little box that I made with UV light strings that I think I got from AliExpress for like a couple bucks. But it's a cool little station too. But the whole point of what I was saying was, when you cure the prints, if you do it outside or inside, there's still resin on the inside that doesn't get cured. So there's still liquid, uncured resin will be inside your print. And if you let it sit long enough, if you put holes in it and there's actually resin in there, it'll leak out eventually. And it'll eventually come out, and then you'll have the light around the room or something will cause it to harden on the outside. It'll really look really bad and mess your prints up. So you really want to try to get the all the stuff, the liquid resin on the inside of the prints out of it somehow. And that's why I put the holes, at least 2 holes in it, so I can blow air into one hole and it blows it out the other hole. I try to get alcohol in there if I can, and then blow it out, because the alcohol cleans, really good, obviously. That's why we all use alcohol to clean our prints. See, this is one of the it's pretty cool in Chitubox. You can go from the top or the bottom and like open the prints up, See, I'm clicking a whole bunch of times trying to find where to put this hole. And it's cool, you can go from the top or the bottom, so you can shoot the holes from the inside versus the outside. Like these two, the top of the legs are here. If I was trying to put those holes in from the top, it's really hard to do. I can't find a way to do it. But if I go hollow, if I open it up and move that little slide bar on the right from the bottom up, and I shoot it from the inside, I can shoot the holes out find a lot easier way to find a way to shoot those holes. And then all you do is put the supports on them. Now I'm about to save it and slice it and put it on my thumb drive and bring it to the 3D printer. Thank you very much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe, and join me for my next section.